You are live. We're live. We're live. Hi. How's it going, folks? Nice to see you today. My name's Dustin Cormier, and welcome to another joyous episode of How to Rock Spirit. We've just done an episode of, I always start these episodes by doing a video talking about the nature of the planetary ruler. In this case, we're talking about Virgo and Gemini, and Mercury, the Mercury rulership, and how that expresses with the sun in Virgo or Gemini, the mercurial nature of these signs coming through the sign, the Chinese sign of the year of the goat, the year of the sheep, the year of the ram. These are all synonymous. They're all different terms that mean the same thing. Just like how in Chinese, the year of the rabbit is also called the year of the cat in the Korean thing. Nice to see you, folks. So check out that other video to see more in-depth descriptions of how the Mercury rulership shares its attributes with Gemini sun and Virgo sun coming through the year of the goat. Now we're going to talk today about specifically the sign of Virgo and how Virgo relates to the goat. We covered a lot of ground with that previous video. I'm going to try to condense what we talked about for this video, specifically relating to Virgo. Virgo being quite different from Gemini, really. We're talking about earth as opposed to air. But Gemini and Virgo are both doing this, getting the same end through different means. Essentially, the end of Mercury's interest, what Mercury is trying to do in its general sort of thing, is it's the Earth Pancha-Tattva. That's a Vedic term. I'm a Tropical Vedic Astrology guy, which means I go by Western measurements, but I consider the Vedic philosophy as being important to describing the figures, the signs, the planets. Mercury rules the Earth Pancha-Tattva, so we find people ruled by Mercury tend to be interested. The sun, the king, is coming through the part of the chart which is managing time, which is managing their mercurial efforts towards a constructive, stabilizing influence. Gemini and Virgo are good at collecting data, researching, and they're kind of fun. Someone ruled by Mercury is kind of like, Mercury's got those fancy horns, and they just like, they're head first into things often. They like to keep the ball rolling, and they like to live for their service. The example I always give to describe what a Virgo is all about, I get this from Ryan Kirksack. I took his Vedic Astrology apprenticeship program. He speaks of the Virgo as, for example, let's take a mechanic. If we have a mechanic who is serving people, we know Virgo is the sign of serving. Essentially, Virgo is going to serve or they're going to suffer, and they should just learn how to serve. It's like they have to integrate the Piscean capacity to serve whoever, and they just do it naturally. They want to do it. Let's see, in the case of Virgo, think of a mechanic who prides themselves on having, it's a mechanic on the corner, and whenever someone comes to them, they pride themselves on their flexibility of their schedule. They can take on many services at the same time, do many people's cars at the same time. Now, let's say the shop closes at 7, and someone comes in at 6 p.m. and says to the Virgo, hey, so I gotta have my car at 10 p.m. tonight. Do you think that you can get my car fixed by 9 p.m.? I know you guys close at 7, but this is desperate. The Virgo will say, oh yeah, bud, I'm supposed to hang out with my family tonight. I mean, we're closed at 7, but this is what I'm good at. You know, so why don't I'll serve you. I'll take on this extra job for you. And don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about paying me any extra. And then the Virgo goes and stays till 9 p.m. fixing the car. Guy comes and the Virgo gives them the car. And the Virgo says, oh, it's my pleasure. This is what I want to do for my job. And the person says, well, here's an extra $50 because you deserve it because you did this for me. The Virgo will say, like, I didn't do it for the... Well, sure. You know, I mean, effort deserves the effort, and they're mercurial. They'll see it as like, oh, well, I put in the effort, you're giving me the effort, why, thank you very much, and they're congenial about it. And they lean on their capacity to serve in this way, and so I'm the one guy on the block who will do this for you, and you're a valued customer of mine, and I live for this, so why don't you do it anytime you need it? I'll help you out in that way. This is the kind of serving that Virgo does. They're money conscious. They're fiscally responsible. The main thing about Mercury is communication, as we all know. We love Mercurially ruled people. We love Virgo because Virgo tends to be honest and communicating critical things that it needs in order to work best with everybody. And they're just honest about it. We see it as being critical. Virgo can be very critical. And sometimes, depending on where the Mercury is of Virgo, it can be overcritical. Especially what I've been saying. If you've got the Sun in Virgo, you might have Mercury in Libra. Libra's a good place for Mercury. Virgo's a good place for Mercury. Leo's a good place for Mercury. But if you've got Mercury in Cancer, Cancer's not a good friend to Mercury because Cancer's got an emotional mind. So if you have Mercury in Cancer and you think too emotionally, or your emotions will possibly cloud your critical objective thinking. We love Virgo because they're critical and they're not afraid to express, this is what I need. This is what I need to contribute positively to this group. I need it, and this is what I need. I need you to stop talking to me that way, you know? And someone will be like, this is just how I talk. Just whatever. But the Virgo will, like, stop them and be like, no, you can't treat me that way, you know? We can see them as being defensive and critical. And they can be, I guess, but usually that criticism is only not appreciated if the other person doesn't have a strong Saturn or Mercury. If the Virgo's got a strong Mercury, their criticism will come from a place of analysis. Like if you are a Virgo and your Mercury's in Virgo, as long as it's not combust, that's a beautiful place for Mercury. If you're a Sun in Virgo person, your Mercury's bound to be close to its exaltation point, that being Virgo. The closer Virgo is, the closer Mercury in anybody's chart is to Virgo, its exaltation point, the stronger it is. Also, the closer your Mercury is to the first house, Virgo gains Digbala strength in Shadbala when it's close to the first house. Also, if your Shadbala of your Mercury is strong, these are all things where the criticism of the Mercury doesn't seem like a stick in the mud. It's actually somebody needs to say what's best, what's critically going to make everybody's lives easier. Sometimes a critical thing needs to be said in order to make the group better. And Virgo, at its highest, strongest point, if it's got like, we're talking about the Sun in Virgo here. So if you've got positive aspects to like the Sun, let's say if you've got Venus opposite the Sun, let's say if you've got Jupiter trine the Sun, then the Sun is going to feel good. Life will be conducive to guiding the Virgo to accept its strength as someone who communicates the needs of the group, and they won't be afraid to. If you've got Mercury in Cancer, you might think emotionally, and it might stop you from being honest about what needs to be said about your needs. If people lean on you as someone who can reliably serve, and let's say you've told somebody, this mechanic says, I'm going to get your car done before 9 p.m. tonight, no matter what. Okay. And the customer says, all right, I'm really leaning on you. And then the Virgo says, trust me, I got this. I wouldn't tell you I would do it if I couldn't do it. So let's say this Virgo with the sun there has Mercury in Cancer. And then all of a sudden, like the wife calls at like 8 p.m. and says, honey, I just need to talk to you about something that's like really fucking me up or something like that. The Virgo will be like, well, okay. And then they might listen to all of their wife's woes or their husband's woes, or their friends, whatever it might be, and their emotions will cloud their critical thinking. Or even their buddy might just call them at 8 p.m. and say, hey, man, can I shoot the shit with you? It's been a long while since I talked. Meanwhile, the Virgo has promised, the son of the Virgo feels responsible for this dude's car. But the Mercury in Cancer is thinking emotionally and clouding the objective judgment. So they say, I'm really busy. The Virgo says, I'm really busy, but yeah, I guess I could shoot the shit for a bit. And meanwhile, they're trying to do it. They're fucking their job up because they're not putting their full focus on it. They're late. You know, let's say they don't finish the car till 10:30, and they say to the customer, sorry, man, I had an important call. This is an example of the Mercury thinking emotionally and obstructing what the Virgo sun is trying to be responsible for, right? So consider where Mercury is in your chart. Also, if it's in the 7th house, this will make the Mercury have a difficulty keeping responsibility because Virgo's stronger in the 1st house. Mercury, rather. Mercury is stronger in the 1st house. When Mercury's in the 1st house, it can have its own, it knows what it needs to do best for everything that it's doing. And it'll tell it when Mercury's in the 1st house, it's in the 1st house, and they know it's best for them in order to serve the world the best way that they can. So they'll say to their friend, look, buddy, I know I haven't talked to you for a while, but I got to fucking hang up right now because I got a job to do. And the other person's like, oh, come on, man. Why can you be so shitty? Sorry, buddy. I love you. I promise I'll call you in 2 hours, and I'll spend all night talking to you. Click. Busy. Sorry. Because they have a responsibility to do. And we love Virgo for their toughness in that way. When you try to get a Virgo, they're all Mr. or Mrs. nice and serving all the time. But if they've made a promise to somebody, if they got a strong Mercury and they make a promise, they're going to keep it. And when you ask them to do something, they're going to say, no, sorry. I'm managing my time right now. You'll have to catch me. Talk to me and I'll make an appointment for you. I'll make time for you. Now, especially, this is the goat. The goat, that's a very Virgo thing, okay? So let's talk a bit about how the goat, what the goat brings to Virgo. The goat, as we've been talking about in our last video, the goat is, it's got 3 elements that are its hidden stems that really express the nature of the goat. The primary nature of the goat is it's wood. It's in the wood triangle. The wood harmony triangle tends to be emotionally, they're called the catalysts of the cycle. So if you're in the year of the goat, that means it's you catalyze, you support other people. It's important for the goat to lean on the emotional support of others. And so that's why the goat gives emotional support to others. We're talking about how the goat, it climbs its own mountain in its own time, in its own ways. It doesn't need to, the goat, the year of the goat, is happy going down. It's happy climbing up. And it's happy at level ground as long as I'm going forward by my heart's driven intuition of how my creative capacities can be used to their best effect, then I'm just going to keep plodding forward. I don't need to climb to the top of no ladder. The goat doesn't necessarily like to be a boss unless they're in a comfortable spot where they can execute decisions using their Virgoan intellect and execution and managerial capacity. But it's better if they have a boss telling them what to do. They don't like to be the top guy at the top of the pyramid. Virgo, the goat, just doesn't like to tell people that you're fired, and they don't like to be in the hot seat of authority or power if they can help it. Although Virgo can do that, depending on other parts of the chart, you know. If the sun is in the 10th house, if Mars is in the 10th house, then they'll have the capacity to tell people that you're not making the cut, because the goat is emotionally sensitive and they don't want to fire anybody. But if their Virgoan intelligence is going to make the company make more money, which allows them to give a more grounded support for the people that they love to support, then this goat will do that. For the sake of, like, their bottom line that they're interested in is that whatever makes me serve everyone most effectively. That's their primary interest, and they get a lot out of it. Although the year of the goat, tends to give more than they receive, really all the time. But, you know, if you are always giving and serving and holding the space for people, letting people cry on your shoulder, it's a goat thing. Supporting people emotionally. Like, we're talking about, like if the Virgo has to go and be a mechanic at 9 in the morning. I got a job to do. My boss wants me to be there at 9 in the morning. So that means I got to get a good sleep tonight. Okay. So it's like 10 p.m. They're right about to go to sleep. The Virgo is managing its time. Okay. Now it's time for bed. Right. And the goat. Okay. Remember, the goat in this person is it's your feng shui luck. And you can get great luck by listening to the will of your Chinese animal sign. And the goat, again, loves to support people. It supports people emotionally because it is fueled by feeling emotional support in itself. So let's say it's 10 p.m. Johnny calls them and says, hey, man, can I come over for like a little bit? I just need to kind of just like an hour of your time to cry on your shoulder and to talk about my woes. I got hard things going on right now, Virgo goat. I need someone to help you. The goat in this person says, come on over. I'll have tea ready for you. I'll have a nice little meal made for you. Come and spend as much time as you need, and I'm always here for you. The person says, oh, thank God. Thank you so much. I'm going to come down right now and cry the fuck out of myself on your shoulder. Virgo says, okay, come on over. I'm ready for you. I've always got a spot for you. The person comes over, and they spend 4 hours talking to the Virgo goat about all their woes, and they cry, and it's just all so hard, and the Virgo goat's absorbing it, and they're even giving them constructive criticism. Virgo's great for this because they analyze what's going on with the person, and they'll say they'll feel the bleeding heart of the person, and they'll say, like, you know, gosh, just like it's just so unfair that this happened to you, and I bet that wouldn't have happened if you had taken care of this. But they're doing it to keep light. They're being constructive with the person, but the Mercury thing is to constantly just always be making a game of things and to treat it lightly, but still showing importance. Okay. So the person cries on the shoulder, blah, 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 until 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Okay. The Virgo promised themselves they'd get a good sleep so they can get up in the morning and function well at their job. But this person is crying crying to them, and they're going to hold the space until, let's say, 3 in the morning comes, and the Virgo's like wiped, and so is the other person. But the other person says, thank you so much for being there for me. And that makes it all worth it for the Virgo goat. Just the fact that the person looks in their eyes and says, like, I needed that so bad. Thank you so much. Virgo goat just gets all choked up and says, anytime, anytime, anytime. It's 3 in the morning. Buddy finally goes home, or even just like crash on my couch, buddy. You've had a few beers. Why don't you just crash on the couch and we'll figure it out in the morning? Now it's 3 in the morning. Virgo goat finally gets a chance to go to sleep. Bob now calls and says, listen, I really need you to do me a favor. Like, it's an emergency. I just cut my thumb off and I need you to drive me to the hospital. Okay, I'll be there soon. The Virgo goat's going to be there. They're going to suffer through a day of working with no sleep. They might even not be fully functional on their own job, they'll make it work, though. The goat, especially if the Mercury in this person is well aligned, they'll always take someone in. They'll always surrender their preferred map of time in order to help someone. Come on in, I'm going to help you out. And then they do it. They drive the guy to the hospital. They come back. By the time they come back, it's 8 in the morning. And they're like, great, just enough time for me to put on my fucking work boots and go to work. And they'll do it. And people remember this about the goat. The goat, now, you can see why at first, like, this is how the goat operates. I'm the year of the goat, by the way. This is just totally how I operate too. I like to think that these videos that I'm doing, just, you know, I'm not really getting paid for it because YouTube doesn't pay me, because I essentially take other texts from other people and regurgitate them, and YouTube knows that, and so they don't monetize my shit. But I like to do it anyway because I like to help people. And truth be told, I am buoyantly lifted up when people come on my channel and say, hey, you helped me out and you did this thing and thank you so much for it. And it's given me a reputation as somebody who's good in this field. By helping people out, I'm lifting myself up. I'm the goat. I'm the year of the goat, and I just live for that shit. So this is my point, is that the goat, the Virgo goat, has served Buddy, drove him to the hospital, came back, and now I got to go to work. And he's surrendering his own peace until he's about 30. Around the Saturn return is when this person has been giving and giving and giving to everybody and just like sloughing it off and just like, it's going to work out. As long as if they have a strong Mercury, this won't fuck them up. And they will get it back around like the age of 30, like I said. They're going to start like getting what they want going on. They're finally, Saturn's coming to the return, and they've finally established a place for themselves as a mechanic or as a banker or as, you know, a financial advisor, as an entertainer, as a musician, an artisan, craftsman, whatever it is, all their many hobbies that this person might have, which this person will probably have a lot of different hobbies that they do. And they'll be stewing on these, just, you know, not focusing so hard on one that this is just like, this is going to make me money someday and I'm just going to build and build and build on one thing. They don't do that. They climb slowly around the mountain. Doesn't matter if I'm going up, doesn't matter if I'm going down. All I know is that I'm going forward and I'm loved. I got emotional support, so whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. Eventually, all these little hobbies and crafts and things that they've been building on start to get uplifted. They start to actually come together. Again, especially if this person has a strong sun, strong aspects to the sun and strong aspects to Mercury. Strong positive aspects to these things. And people remember how selflessly this Virgo has served, how selflessly and committed they were to serving. And so the goat eventually, they might not even ever climb that high financially because they don't care about that. But no matter what they do, they won't be in a sore spot if they've been diligently doing the emotional connections that's the goat is known for. Now, again, the only thing that can fuck this up is if the Mercury is ill-placed or if the sun is ill-placed. You know, if the sun is ill-placed, then they might be a great, you know, friend who's just like a stoner buddy that you can cry on their shoulder all the time, but they might not have much to show for a career. They might just be like a janitor, a librarian, just have some simple job, blah, get it in and just do this simple thing. And then when I go home, maybe they've got a strong Venus and they've got a connection to their family, and that's more important to them than the sun thing or even the Mercury thing. What could fuck this whole combination up is, again, if the Mercury is slacked back into Cancer. If you've got Mercury in Cancer with the Sun in Virgo, the Sun in Virgo is going to try to express its power and its concentrated projection of itself, of its aspirations. It's going to use Mercury to try to get where it wants to go. But if the Mercury is in Cancer, we might have an example of someone. I used the example in our last video, and I'll say it here just for the sake of it. Let's say we're the mechanic, Virgo mechanic, and now we're introducing the goat. And the same customer who the goat helped out comes back again, okay? 6 p.m., the shop is supposed to close at 7. We're supposed to close at 7, buddy. the guy comes in and says, look, man, you did this for me last time. I'm your best customer. Maybe if they've only done it once, the person's trying to convince the Virgo. And the Virgo, though, if the Mercury is in Cancer, they're gonna be deluded in their objective communication of their needs, which Virgo is supposed to be so well known for and good for. That's what they're best at. Cutting out emotions where it's needed in order to be objective about the emotional content of their lives. Now, this goat person wanting to help this guy out with the Mercury in Cancer, right? The person says, look, I need you to do this. Now, what if this Virgo, like their daughter the Virgo man's daughter has a recital that like he promised to his daughter that he wouldn't miss. It's important to him. And that's even like an emotional connection that he doesn't want to lose out on. This customer comes and now, okay, so the daughter's recital is at 8 p.m. Okay. The customer comes in and says, look, man, same thing as last time. I know you guys close at 7. Help me out here. I need you to fix my car and to have it done by 9 p.m. The Virgo with Mercury in Cancer will lose objectivity. The moon will emotionally identify through the Mercury. The Mercury in Cancer will see the tug of war in their own mind between my own wife and my own daughter are so important to me. They should be objective and critical about the fact that that is the more important emotional thing. But the Mercury in Cancer blurs this. So they look at the guy and the guy's like, look, you really need to do this for me. Like, I'm not going to, like, I'm your best customer. Come on. Like, come on. Usually Virgo, a strong Virgo will say, look, man, I don't give a damn about whatever you got going on. I don't care what I did for you before. If you're really my best customer, treat me with a little bit of respect. I've been at this business for a long time. Usually I would help you, but today I can't because I have an important thing that I have to do at 8 p.m. tonight. The customer says, you're going to lose me as a customer. Just like, this is killing me. You don't understand how bad I need this. The Virgo with Mercury and Cancer will be like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated right now, and if this is going to make everything easier, fine. Just give me the damn car, I'll have it done. And then he goes and misses his daughter's recital. Not only that, but he's like thinking while he's working on this guy's car, he's thinking about the fact that he just got fucked over because he didn't hold to his mercurial communication of needs. He's shitty at this fucking car job, just whatever, blah, 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 get it out of the way. Gives it to the customer. It blows up in the customer's face, and the customer comes back the next day and says, you didn't even fix it. Yeah, my brakes still weren't completely working or whatever it is, right? And the Virgo gets shit from this guy, as well as the fact that he promised his wife and his daughter that he'd be there. He wasn't there, and nobody wins. This is because the goat in this person is emotionally sensitive, and that emotional sensitivity in the goat can be very good. It allows them to have an objectivity if their Mercury is strong again, and if they can communicate objectively about these emotional things in their lives. And if they get too emotional and they can't communicate their expressed needs in every moment, they can make a real mess of their organization, which is what gives the king, the sun, in Virgo. That's what the king of the Virgo kingdom. When we've got the sun in Virgo, let's call it a Virgo kingdom. The king, being the sun, is trying to express itself through this mercurial management. And if they can't do that, it's really damaging to their whole energy field because the sun is like the center of the energy field, right? The other thing we like to talk about is meddling, in the sense that the Virgo will possibly be a meddler. The Virgo goat in particular, Janie complains that I think Johnny cheated on me. And so the Virgo goat, being the critical person who's emotionally connected to Janie. Again, this is more of like if Mercury is in the 7th house or like conjunct Saturn or something like that, and the person has a hard time being objective about their mind and their emotions with an ill-placed Mercury here. The goat sympathizes with Janie. It says that Johnny is just such a rotten bastard because I heard this thing that you said and I'm feeling your emotions and just fuck that guy. Let's just cut him out of our scene. So then maybe they go to the landowner and say, hey, Johnny fucked us. Do you know Johnny's selling drugs? You shouldn't be renting to him. Landowner comes over one day and says, hey, I heard Johnny's selling drugs, so you're fucking out of here. And everyone in the house is like, wait a minute, Johnny's not selling drugs. Who told you that? And the landowner says, well, it was the Virgo goat. Virgo goat tried to manipulate me to think that Johnny was this badass guy. And then everyone looks at the Virgo goat like, why did you say that? And the Virgo goat's like, well, okay, guys, Johnny cheated on Janie, and that's wrong, so we should get Johnny the heck out of here anyway. And everyone's like, do you know for sure that Johnny cheated on Janie? Janie's like, I just told you that in confidence just to say it, you know? Just to talk with you. So these people can be gossips, although it's not as bad as Gemini. They aren't as... they might not do this meddling thing in the way that Gemini does. Because Gemini is like a spontaneous gossip. Which is cute and it can be in its own thing, you know. But Virgo acts instantaneously and reacts instantaneously to important emotional things. Because the goat in this Virgo person is sensitive to this, to emotions and such. So in such an instance, the Virgo goat will blend, like goat is also an earth energy. That's their primary energy. Alongside the wood, they've got fire too, and also earth. So the goat feels discomfort in their stomach when someone else has got emotional things going on. The goat empathizes with it. They're like psychic in a certain way. Like they're like neurologically psychic. So the person... you know, so the Virgo goat reacted to Janie, who was telling them their woes. And so the Virgo goat said, I'm going to take it upon myself to fix this situation for you, Janie. And if they're not objective about the emotional content, what'll happen, I've explained this for all these videos. It's important for the goat, in its ardor, in its desire to make a deep connection with one person, to save one, to help one person, don't go and fuck somebody else's life up. That's meddling. And this is the meddling that Virgo goat can do if it's not if it's not really deeply thinking about its capacity as the communicator of a group. Because Virgo will get a reputation in their group as someone who will be critical, but for the right reasons, usually. Especially if the Mercury is well placed. You can always lean on a Virgo, tell them anything, and the Virgo will go, okay, I'll find some way to melt the steel girders of reality to make things work better for us in that regard. They just know the codes. Virgo researches the code of like living in a house, for example, and that's why they would have been like, maybe this will work with this whole Johnny thing. But Virgo likes to be known as the person to go to have a objective analytical analysis of a situation. And the goat in this Virgo will be particularly good at thinking about emotional realities. They'll be fair about emotional things if they practice the capacity to be objective about it and they don't meddle. Be careful if you're going to meddle, mind you. That's the whole point. And this is what I'm trying to say. The goat leans on its emotional connections. And Virgo does best at its exalted place when it's on nobody's side. You know, we all know this, that Virgos are objective and analytically critical from a place of non-ego, usually, in their most, their essential nature. Mercury's essential nature. And they want to be known as that. So when it's like, you know, are you conservative or a liberal Virgo? They'll say, well, I don't know. I could see the positives and negatives of both sides, and this is this and this is this. Or like, you know, it's like, we want to go to Canada, we want to go to Canada's Wonderland, but these guys just want to go and hit the bar. What do you think we should do, Virgo? Virgo will say, well, I could see why the points of this group is understandable, but I could also see why this is understandable. To me, what makes the most sense to me is this. And they'll analyze it based on objective, not about like the strength of the ego of one person or anything like that. They'll just be objective about everything. And they won't take sides just for the sake of it. And you'll know this about Virgo. Everyone loves this about Virgo, is that they're everybody's friend. And also, they'll be willing to they'll criticize you. Even if you're their best fucking friend, they're going to be real with you. If they're a good Virgo and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, they'll tell you critical things that no one else will tell you. They'll tell you that you got that little bit of food in your fucking mustache or whatever it is, or like that big piece of spinach in your teeth. And you'll be like, oh, thank God this person is honest with me about this thing that I needed to change in my life. So long as in this emotional moment, when you think someone's coming to you and saying, this person's fucking with me, don't go and fuck Johnny over. Or don't really mess with someone just because someone else told you to. Unless you really read all the data, really be objective and analyze deftly with the proper amount of time the situation. Because you could react, the goat in you, with your emotional sensitivity to Janie or to whoever, you'll feel their emotional pain. You'll say, oh, I want to serve this person and fix the problem. Maybe I'll just stick my fingers into someone else's life where I shouldn't be meddling. This is my point. Because if you cut yourself off from Johnny or from whoever, that one might come and fuck you over in the long run. Because people will start to wonder, what is your orientation? Are you really looking out for everyone's better interests? Or are you just trying to make this bad feeling in your stomach go away? Are you just trying to make the bad feeling in Janie's stomach go away? Because if that's your final value and virtue, then you're not really... How good of a friend are you to me when I have to deal with something and I've got a pit in my stomach and my enemy has a pit in their stomach? Are you going to defend me? People might not know if the Virgo goat doesn't remain clandestinely friendly to all sides and critical of all sides for the sake of objective, non-emotional, critical clarity in thinking and mental reasoning. As soon as the Virgo goat loses that, they could step on people's toes with this criticism that they do, and they could alienate themselves from the support network which goat leans on for their emotional wellness and for their luck, for their feng shui social luck. Now let's talk, I usually like to give my own quick little spiel like I just did as to the nature of these signs. What we're going to do now is I'm going to stick my big old mustache face in front of the camera so that I can type in. Unfortunately, my computer makes it so that I have to sign into YouTube every time I want to see people's comments. This is a live stream, ladies and gentlemen, so feel free to make any comments if you feel like it. I always like this show to be more than just me rapping, you know, so that's why I love when I have all these beautiful friends joining me for these conversations. My friend Nay West is here. Now, thoughts on Virgo rising? Virgo goat. Wonderful, Al Bosch. I'm glad to hear. Virgo sheep. This is making a lot of sense. I'm so glad. Hi, Katrina. Yeah, what drugs? Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's... fuck, you know, like I'm going to be smoking weed tonight, like very much so after I'm done all this. I've been at this since 4, so you are right to ask there, El Bosch, what kind of drugs are we talking about? But in that example, I was thinking something bad, like fucking meth or something like that. That was, or heroin or something, you know. That's what the goat was blaming on Johnny for doing, because hard drugs are bad, but cannabis is pretty fucking sweet. Nice to have you here, Katrina. Yes, absolutely, Goosey. You're totally right. And nice to see you too, Nay West. I'm going to comment on Mac Gutenberg, asked about Virgo rising. I will say that if you are watching this video, you'll see, I'm talking about pure Virgo and Mercury tones, you know, especially like if you're a Virgo rising, wherever your Mercury is going to say a lot about the strength of your capacity to do what we're talking about. If you're a Virgo rising and you've got your Mercury in Pisces, it's tough because your basic energy is in a place that's not only in the 7th house, where Virgo doesn't do well in the 7th house. It does better in the 1st house. That's like Digbala in Vedic astrology. I'm a Vedic astrologer, though again, I go by Western measurements of where the planets are. Virgo rising with Mercury in Pisces has Mercury in the 7th, which is a bad place for Mercury, but also Pisces, where Mercury is debilitated. That means they're less inclined to be diligent about every moment holding on to the mental organizations of energy. And that person could be a real fucking mess. That's a really ugly place. But it is, if you have those, of course, all you have to do is notice what Mercury's trying to do and cater to what has to be done. And don't be too letting go of your Mercury, but still realize that Mercury is a 7th house in Pisces is still a placement that can be used with constructive purpose. Every aspect in astrology, even the most negative, still has positive aspects to bring. You just have to make sure that you hold on to the positive and let go of the negative. Let go of whatever it is, even if you feel like it's just what's like you've always done, transform it. Awareness and self-realization can get us out of any locks in our neurological energy field. Virgo Sun, Virgo Rising, Mercury and Libra. That's a good place. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Out of the Ashes. I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate all you guys hanging out with me. Now, we've just talked a lot about Virgo. Let's see how the goat personality, I just want to ring in a little bit on how the goat reflects on the Virgo. And then we're going to talk about them both. This is from the Zodiac, the Diagram Group, Little Giant Encyclopedia. It tells us a little bit about the goat. They're charming, amiable, sympathetic, and the goats are genuinely nice people. They hate to criticize, and they always look for the best in people, including themselves. They see what's best in themselves, and they try to capitalize on it. They'll prefer to forget grievances rather than brood over them, and they will bottle up resentments to keep the peace. Especially Virgo. Virgo likes to take tension and stomach it for themselves and be like, oh, nobody should be dealing with this, but I guess like I'm feeling everyone's tension right now, but if it's better for everybody for me not to say anything, I won't. And they know when to keep their mouth shut. Usually, if the Mercury is strong, especially, because there are times when it's just best to keep your mouth shut. And the goat especially. The goat will prefer not to say the hard critical thing if they don't have to. A Virgo, again, is esteemed for their ability to be critical. So don't let the emotional sensitivity of the goat reduce what you are known and good for as a Virgo. They should be together so that sometimes the goat in you has a wisdom, which says, you're right, be more tactful. Don't be so critical. I will say, in fact, that the goat helps to cool Virgo's criticism. Helps to reduce it from being too tactless. Goat people live in the present. It's this, again, the goat is considered in the fire triangle with snake, horse, and goat. They live from their heart, and they're spontaneous in the same way that Gemini is spontaneous. So the goat here with the Virgo will help the Virgo loosen up a little bit. Virgo often is way in their head, overthinking about what they're allowed to say. The fire of the goat they'll just teach themselves to be like, I have to say this right now, so guess what? This is what I think. And they'll do it happily. They'll just be like kind of more spontaneous and heartfelt about deep insights that Virgo can be very, very wise. Virgo can say things about the immediate situation that no one is thinking about. And the goat in them will just be like, it's like an old, innocent old man who's like, or like a young child, the goat, who's just like, oh boy, just I like this tree, I like this leaf, I like this leaf. Look at this flower. Wow, look at the pink. Wow. And they're just saying all these, they develop and cultivate this instinct to just be happy and lighthearted and to say whatever's on their mind about whatever. It's the fire in the goat that helps them to let go of a lot of tension that the Virgo, as well as the goat, is known for holding in. They live in the present and they enjoy the present to the best of their abilities. Thanks to their sensitive natures, goats are one of the most artistic and creative of all the Chinese horoscope signs. And the Virgo helps this immensely because the Virgo's skilled. Virgo's got skills. Virgo, because they're always serving, and the sun coming through Virgo wants to identify with the capacity to have a skill in a particular field that it's good at, or probably multiple fields because they're multi-handed and all that stuff. A Virgo goat could be an incredible artisan. They could be an incredible at whatever field they go into, because again, the goat is climbing its own mountain in its own time. So they'll be a starving artist, these people. They can be. This tends to create a personality who I don't need to get very far in a company. I don't really need security. They want security. They want a job that they can keep, and they want to be nice to their boss. They want their boss to recognize that they're reliable. They want to be congratulated for being reliable and being time management effective. And the goat in this person would pride themselves on the bosses just loving them personally. I got lots of people who do the job better than you, but you bring me my coffee in the morning and you have the right attitude and you make the whole office smile, and I'm going to keep you for that reason. That will give the Virgo goat a boner, or the female equivalent or whatever, you know. So this makes an artisan, a craftsman, a creative person who in their own time will get like a librarian job or some easy job to keep them along as they slowly pursue these many hobbies that they have going on. Secret goat. From their description, people may think that goats are weak creatures who are easy to take advantage of. In reality, however, they seem like that because they're just, oh, you know, it's all good. But in reality, these people will fight violently like a goat, like, ah! They will fight violently if something important to them is threatened. Fortunately, as goats assign value according to very personal criteria, what they would defend to the last is not something that others covet. Which is good, because if this like freak out, like, I need this, if this was like for a material item, for a material gain, or for anything that is coveted by many people, they'll get rattled about the fact that they're just so desperate to keep this thing. But they don't love what most people love. They might love a lover, and romantic complications can be tough for these people. But it's, you know, they know that live and let live and love and let love. And if a love comes to you, you can be with it. And if they leave you, you have to let it go, or else, because then it was, and if they never come back, it was never meant to be, that whole thing. They're sensitive to that. But if they've got a lover and someone like strong arms or manipulates the lover to loving the other person more than the Virgo goat, they might melt the steel girders of reality and bend some rules in order to magically bring themselves back into the positive favor of the loved object. Now, one thing that's funny about the goat that they say, normally people are advised to look to themselves to balance the strengths and weaknesses in their character. For example, the goat would be advised to try and take more care of the practical side of life, such as paying the bills, and not rely on others to support them as they pursue their own interests. Most times when you see like, oh, they say goats eat paper, paper meaning money. These people don't, it's all going to be fine, guys. It's all going to, I'm kind of in the red right now, like, they got to make rent. Rent is due like next week. And it's like, I need $100 more. But like, Janie wants to come out for dinner with me tonight. And I've always paid. And I'm going to pay this time. It'll work out. It'll be fine. My stomach hurts a little bit. It's okay. Often the goat in this person is just like, I know it'll work out. I'll be supported if I just keep supporting people emotionally. Don't have to be 100% fiscally mature. Now, what might happen is that, Chinese tradition, however, holds that goats are mostly unable to change this aspect of their natures. Goats eat paper. They just fucking money just goes and it's gone. Therefore, these people will need to find a patron to take care of the administration of their life and allow them the freedom to make the most of their creative talents. This role could be filled by, for example, a devoted husband or wife, a manager, or even a loyal accountant or financial advisor, someone who will just like tell them, this is where you cannot bend. You are gonna lose your rent. You're going to lose your home, which is your important thing that you need for your job. It's going to fuck up everything in your life if you don't make rent on this day. And you need to do that, which means, like if they have a firm financial advisor and they just like, okay, Bob, my financial advisor says that I cannot not do this or whatever it is, they'll keep them on an even keel. I'll say I'm the year of the goat, and I like to give the example that for a large part of my life, my mom kind of paved the way for a lot of my ability to sculpt and read these writings and do these videos, I'm 27 years old now, and Saturn's coming through. I'm coming through my Saturn return, and I'm now finally starting to realize not an easy job, but a job that's reliable and stable for me so that I can continue to expand on my creative talents and capacities in a stable way. But my mom kind of paid away for a lot of it, and I plan on paying her back. It's all coming along, guys. You see, but I've got a lot of creative capacity that I've been able to express because I haven't needed to be so fiscally responsible because I've got a family that helps me to get where I am. And because of that, I've got all this shit on YouTube. I've got my bands. I've got my writing. I've got 10,000 things that I know are going to slowly be pushed towards positive good and financial level inequality. Hopefully. I mean, I wouldn't be saying all this if I was actually worried about it, and I'm not. I've got a job now where I can stew and I can keep a constant cash flow going, which comes to me, and I'm slowly paying my mom back, as well as continuing supporting the people that I love, which the goat loves to do, and also increasing my aspirations and hobbies and crafts and all these things. I've eaten a lot of paper in order to get where I am, and I'm going to have to work pretty hard to give back the paper that I've eaten. But because again, the goat leans on emotional support and love. I have a whole world of people that thankfully love me because I try to love them back, and it works out that way. You know. Anyway, I don't know what people are going to think about this. Hopefully, if you're a goat, you're empathizing with my situation. It's working out for me, although I've had a lot of luck, and I am diligent about keeping my job. It's important for you as a goat to keep that fucking job so you don't drown, you know? Thanks, El Bosch. Yeah, fine line, huh? It's been a long time since I rock and rolled. So that was like a really fucking long intro. I think that because I'm in the year of the goat. Oh, you know what I wanted to show you guys? This turned out to be a long video, but that's okay. I think I might have put this for the, whatever it's called. What am I looking for? Bang. I might have put this as the thumbnail for this video anyway. But yeah, check it out. This is a picture of me. What's up? That's the goat in all his glory. I like this picture because I've got a deep emphasis of Virgo. Vedically speaking, my Atmakarika is Venus at 29 degrees of Virgo, which is kind of an ugly spot for Venus, but, you know, again, every negative attribute has its positive attributes. I just have to balance them all out, etc. You know? So this is Virgo is like my Shastyamsa. Anybody who's Vedic is going to see that there's a huge Virgo vibe here with the sign of the goat. And that's just like a total sort of like goat vibe. Anyway, I thought I saw that. I thought I'd show you guys. Now I'm just jerking myself off, so I should probably continue talking about data that's not myself. Said the goat. I'm also a Leo rising, in case you couldn't tell. All right, enough goofing around here. Now that we've talked about Virgo, we've talked about the goat, and we've talked about the two of them together, I want to start talking about how the Virgo and the goat are readings which express them as one integral unit. We've got 3 readings we're going to do today, aside from the one we just did. The first one's going to be from the Handbook of Chinese Horoscopes by Theodora Lau and Laura Lau. Next one is going to be from Cosmic Astrology by Mantek Chia. And then the last one is going to be from a lovely lady named Suzanne White called The New Astrology. It's my style, is I give a whole gumball, I give a picture of the signs, and then we go through texts which talk about the symbols that we're referring to, being Virgo and goat. This first one I like to start with because it gives us a real gumball. We start off with a small picture, and then we get to a bigger picture, and then we get to a bigger picture, and it unfolds the nature of the character. So this is the Virgo sheep. Of course, sheep, goat, and ram are all synonymous with this Chinese astrology animal sign. The Virgo sheep. The sheep is elegant and full of niceties, but a bit of a spendthrift. The virgin is more somber and much more careful with finances. Lucky you, Virgo goats. Here in this combination, we could find the sheep practicing the virtues of thrift, self-denial, and cold resolve, objectivity. The congenial sheep will be more resolute if the positive qualities of both are enhanced. Virgo can be a perfectionist and a tireless worker. The sheep is sociable and popular, and the sheep will want to move in the best circles. Here is a more reliable sheep who values commitment and personal relationships. They are devoted to friends and family and will always have their interests at heart, meaning their friends and family. Excuse me. Whew. Now, you lucky damn Virgo goats, this spendthrift thing, the goats eat paper, as well as everything in sight, tin cans, whatever. The Virgo in you might be a little bit more self-critical, self-denying, or, willing to let go of all those little things, because the Virgo is constantly thinking, cultivating a strength of thinking about their persistent mercurial efforts and energy. The Virgo is going to compensate for this sort of loosey-goosey vibe of the goat, while it seems that the congenial goat, the friendly goat, might make it easier for life to not be just a number crunch. Virgos can just be a number cruncher. They can just hide themselves off in some obscure library, just putting in data codes on this computer, like this book belongs here, this book belongs here, just this is all I got to do in my life, this is all I got to do. Mercury, if left to their own devices without any other positive benefic influences in a chart, might just go and till soil. Even if no one ever uses it, they'll till some soil in some farm for an hour and say, I know I got to be productive and I got nothing to do right now, so I'm going to do something, so I'm just going to till this soil. And they go for a year tilling all this soil, and then it's like, oh, now I got to move. And I tilled that whole farm soil for fucking a year for no reason. It was not fulfilling. It was not even as ambitiously constructive as it could have been, So anyway, this is more of emotionally speaking. The goat in this person values relationships. They value the feeling that they're being guided buoyantly from the heart fire and from the woody support system that they give to others. This provides for the goat a fulfillment, which the Virgo might not naturally think about. There's a lot of other Virgos who just don't care about that. It's just like, whatever, as long as I can keep doing my job. The goat in this person will try to enjoy the journey as well as the fat wallet destination. Again, these people aren't looking for a fat wallet. They're looking more for the promise that others will recognize the service that they have diligently and earnestly given to others with no expectation of reward. That's what the Virgo wants. That's what this goat wants to build. And they'll enjoy the journey all the while. They'll try to. Especially they got a well-placed Venus and a well-placed Mercury. So, we've got our next reading, but before we do that, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go pee real quick, and then we're going to get on to our next reading. Well, I hope this video is working out for you folks. It's looking like it's a long one. I think we're about an hour in, and we're just now getting into our longer readings. These videos aren't usually this long, but I'm enjoying it because I like talking about the goat because I'm the goat. I don't feel so bad about it. Now, ladies and gerbil fish, yeah, okay. Next on our roster, the following reading comes from Cosmic Astrology by Mantak Chia and William Yu Wei. This is going to expand on the themes of Virgo and Goat that we just read. This book tends to refer to it as the ram. Yes, out of the ashes, sheep, goat, and ram are all synonymous. They're all the same. To the Chinese astrology, they're all the same. Ox is a whole different one. Ox and buffalo are considered the ox, which is the opposite of the goat, the ram, the sheep. So whenever you hear me say, at least in terms of Chinese astrology, when you hear me say ram, goat, or sheep, they're all the same figure of the eighth sign of the Chinese zodiac. I'm glad to hear that, Goosey, you sweetheart. I'm glad to see you're still sticking around. My friend Goosey is always watching my videos with me and supporting me. And I need that in my life, Goosey. You make it all so juicy. Next reading, we're talking about Virgo month combined with the year of the ram. There's a direct channel from a Virgo ram's perceptions to their mouths, which can be beautiful. It can be super spontaneous insights about like the earthy nature of something. Just like, what is this thing, you know? They can talk about the object, they can talk about the material, they can talk about the intention, they can talk about the context of the intention. Especially when it slips right out of their mouths, because it's like the first glint of insight for these people tends to be the most penetrating. Just watch that you don't say the wrong thing at the wrong time, right? In spite of the deep inner need for security, this combination tends to be a snob. Friends know the truth, that the stylish clothes and transportation are a mask made of wool covering their eyes. Some combinations lead to individuals who find themselves in precarious positions. That is the case with Virgo, Ram, Goat. The end result is a person who is uncertain of their being. That is the case because the zip of the Virgo is influenced by the neediness of the Ram. In addition, Rams are highly materialistic types, and they love opulence, shiny things, prestigious things. Not necessarily a bad thing, of course, as long as it's not so bad to enjoy luxury and opulence and high-end things in life, as long as you're not so attached to those things that when you don't have them, you can't feel peaceful and satisfied within yourself. I suggest meditation if that is a thing for you. Virgos tend to be good workers, and that is certainly what this individual wants to be, or at least how they want to appear, how they want to be received. The Ram influence, the Goat influence, disturbs the developmental process in that regard, however. The Ram wanting to follow its own path along the mountain and like, I'm going to get my own way there, might make them appear to take their nose away from the grindstone. The end result of all of this is someone who is, to put it gently, opinionated but easily manipulated by the slick and sly. The final result, especially as the years go by, tends to build up into a peculiar person. They do not censor, and they rarely think before they make an opinion. and express it. Sometimes their chatter can be pleasant, however, because it's just coming right out, just coming out of them. And the goat is, they often just want to blah, blah, blah. How green are these walls right now? You know, like these are just the greenest walls. Because they're more interested in connecting than the content of the conversation sometimes. That's the goat. And Virgo is just like blah, 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 blah. Just whatever makes the connection between you and I. Security is one of their top priorities. And if they have it, they tend to have fewer issues. Family, friends, and those whose function in life is to help others need to surround this individual. It's just kind of the way they are. None of that means that this combination is shy and reserved. They are not. They can be outgoing and they can be expressive, and just it's the goat again at that heart, the fire in the goat. It's one of the 3 fire types: snake, horse, goat. It's the fire in this person that just would rather burp up whatever's happening in the conversation. Like, they cultivate a capacity in themselves to be with the conversation, even if they don't always have something deeply meaningful to say. Although if the Mercury in this person is well placed, then they will contribute very intellectual insights into a conversation. Sometimes, like, again, if the Mercury is ill placed, like in Cancer, then they might just be venting emotional dirges. I should also say, whenever you read any combination of any of this stuff, like, there's a lot of weird things that this book just said about this combination. Always keep in mind that, number one, Chinese astrology is like 3,000 years old in its own right. Western astrology is like 3,000 years plus in its own right. But the combination of these two have never happened. There's no scripture. There's no final authority on how these two signs are going to come out. So this book and all these books are just authors' interpretations of the signs. Always take it with a grain of salt, because we, as people combining cultural strands into a new intuitive fusion, need to be we need to do this. We need to talk in this way with these authors' interpretations, but you need to be objective about it. We need to hear all the authors' opinions of it and deduce where the confluent factors happen. That's number one. But number two, even if you do express all these weird peculiarities, or even if this book is 100% right on the nature of these peculiarities, just know that, number one, there's other factors in the chart that make up the nature of what you are. You're more, in Western astrology, there's so much more than just the sun sign. And in Chinese astrology, there's so much more going on than just the year sign. So if you're reading all this and it's hitting points that you could see in yourself, don't think that that's all you are. There's so much more to you than just these broad archetypal visions, right? And even if it does hit the nail on the head, just know that you can always realize the neurological nodes which your unconscious nature expresses, manifest a cultivation of self-realization, and logically deduce how you can take this neurological energy field and put it to a constructive and logical use in your immediate reality. Self-realization, folks. Now, anyway, I always like to give those little caveats or whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? Reminders. Now, Virgo in the year of the ram in romance. The real lesson for this combination needs to incorporate a dose of reality in their sense of self. That is, realize who they really are and work towards defining that. It's a hard thing to define, but it's a good thing for this person to practice defining. After learning these lessons, there's a possibility of real love, romance, and marriage. Because when you're in love, you have to know kind of what you are or at least get a pretty objective experience of what your nature portends to. And then that way, when you deal with a lover, you can think objectively about the marriage. What are they? What am I? Do those values intertwine in a way which is mutually conducive to growth and love and joy? You know, if you identify mentally because of the Virgo vibe with like the wrong thing in yourself, it's like, well, mom and dad always said that I would be an accountant, so that's what I am. And you just pencil that into your consciousness, and then a lover comes along who works perfect for an accountant. Then you get to be 40 years old, your Uranus return happens, and you're like, wait, I was never supposed to be an accountant. And my partner was not the person that I thought that I wanted, you know? Everyone's dealing with that, so don't think that that's specifically a Virgo thing or a Virgo goat thing. But I get it. I get that the Virgo goat, being emotionally receptive to everybody else's wants and thinking mentally critically, is always going to be second guessing. What is my real intention in my life? There is, to be bold about it, a chance of true happiness. Fuck, these books are hard sometimes. Those who find themselves interested in a Virgo ram should proceed with caution. Love and romance for a Virgo ram is a tough call. There is the snobbery to deal with and the tongue with no bridle. This combination is unpredictable because it acts on impulse. A self-improvement class for this combination needs to begin with a lesson in humility. I get it. Humility is important for this combination. Virgo tends to have humility anyway, but the goat's a funny fella. It's because the goat says, look, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I know what I have to do to climb the mountain of my aspirations in my own time. And everyone else can suck it. It's just the way these people are. And if that's a positive thing, we could see for an artist, for a creative person, for someone who's self-enterprising, especially if the sun is in like the 10th house, you know, it's a positive thing. But humility for a character like that will really take them far in interpersonal relationships so that they don't seem like a dick, so they don't seem uncaring. Relationships. Probably unwise picks for this combination are Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces, who are buffaloes or dogs. Buffalo meaning the ox. Really, buffaloes tend to not be a great combination for the goat in general. Although, I'm the year of the goat. I mean, again, the year sign is only one sign in your nature. I know people in my life who are the year of the goat, but who have very harmonious romantic connections with me on my day master level. I'm in the day of the water horse. I know a girl who is yin fire day stem, who's in the fire ox year. So I'm the ram, the goat. She's an ox, and they're opposite, and they don't get along well. But there are other layers of the charts which make us connect in a very deep way. Take it with a grain of salt. It still sucks. I feel the ox thing, and I'm not going out with this girl, but for a romantic escapade, it's fucking sweet. The one I'm particularly thinking of. Consider the intention of the connection. If we're talking about marriage, you should definitely consider this year opposition thing, right? But I will say, no matter what, if there's a real love between the two of you, if you've committed to marriage and kids and everything, there's a way to get around whatever astrological kinks are obstructing the joy in the relationship. You just got to be objective about it. Pisces tigers will not run the distance with you, and besides, they will just make this combination insecure. Pisces tiger, yeah. High-ranking romantic choices are Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, and Capricorn in general. The best in those ranks are the rabbit and the boar. So Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, and Capricorn, rabbit, and boar. Also good choices are Cancer and Scorpio horses, because horse is best friends to the goat. So it's great for us goats, really. Horse and goat often find each other through life and through high school because they're only 1 year apart. My brother's born in the year of the horse, and I have lots of friends who are in the year of the horse, who have lots of girlfriends who are in the year of the horse. I'm kind of bisexual, so like I kind of even like I find a lot of guys in the year of the horse that I can get along great with too. So it's great for us goats and horses that we have our best friend in the cycle. There's the triangle, which is the goat is in triad with boar and rabbit, and they get along well together as like a real best friend vibe. The secret allies, every sign also has a secret ally, and for the goat it's the horse, and for the horse it's the goat. They're a year apart, so that's always a cool thing. So Cancer and Scorpio horses tend to do very well for the Virgo ram. In family life, the Virgo ram is one of those combinations for which style is a statement. They want people to notice their status so that they feel secure. There is no plastic or polyester in the Virgo ram's home. Everything is natural and reeks of elegance, mostly to make themselves feel worthy of these high-end things so that people see them and say, oh, wow, that's a high refined item that you have, must be coming from a high refined personality. The Virgo ram says, yes, thank you for saying that. I've been looking for someone to say that. Livelihood. This combination also likes to throw a party, and they do it well. Parenthood is a mixture and switching between being a boss. Sometimes the writing is weird in these books. Parenthood is a mixture and switching between being a boss and being Santa Claus. Because the goat here, especially with the Virgo is giving and serving, and they want to, they want to give to the kids. They want to be loved, and the goat in this person wants to be that favorite uncle, favorite father figure, you know? But as a father or as a mother, I shouldn't say just father figure and uncle. I should say also aunt and mother, of course. And for a mother who's a Virgo goat, they're going to have to try to be the disciplining mother, the critical mother, while not alienating their kids, not getting into the nth degree of the details of their life. And so for that's where the Santa Claus comes from, you know. I'm going to tell you, my son, Johnny, or whatever, to fucking button that shirt, tie those shoes, make yourself look presentable for our family. And if you do, we get to go to McDonald's, you know, or whatever, right? Virgo ram loves playing with children and would probably like to sit on Santa's lap and ask for a few things themselves. Steady as she goes is what the Virgo ram wants in a profession, right? Doesn't have to have the possible opportunity to rocket them to stardom. Steady as she goes is what the Virgo ram wants in a profession. At work, this combination can communicate well, and they have an ability for public speaking. Not surprising is the fact that this combination, being so opinionated, is biased, and in some cases downright prejudiced. That's part of the Virgo trying to think mentally about things, trying to scale values in a mental conceptual way. And when they feel like all the data points in one direction, they'll say, this is the direction. This is the direction. And sometimes they just If they're, especially if the Mercury's ill-placed again, like in Cancer or whatever, it could come off as not being grounded in the research that they want to feel like it is. Vocations that appreciate a unique perspective work for this combination. As for being in charge, there is no possibility here whatsoever. Remember again that, you know, there is, but we're judging by the extreme archetypes of the sun in Virgo and the year of the ram, the sheep, the goat. And the extreme in the essential nature of these, they don't dig being the boss. Doesn't mean they can't. Always consider that whenever we read any reading like this. The goat is a good, and Virgo is a good communicator. These people can make great, witty critics. They can make really great, like, even like engineers and architects. Like the goat in this combination can really, if they do their research and they passionately do whatever it is that they are doing, be it like an architect, you know, if they enjoy architecture, then they'll just involve themselves in it with everything in their lives. And the goat will like walk the mountain in their own pace, and they will attain a sense of the cream, the refined, exalted end point of whatever artistic field they feel like going, especially if the goat or whatever in their chart, in their Chinese chart, is supported, just like if the sun and Mercury in the Western chart is supported. These people will have fun building towards their particular field of interest, and they'll just constantly be cultivating it, even while they're working some crappy McDonald's flipping burgers job or librarian job or whatever. They could be the silent genius that has a deep experience. These people gain their aesthetic sense of the cream of whatever field they get into by just constantly digging their nose passionately and in a fun way. These people are guided by a sense of fun in the sun in a sense of fun. That's a Mercury thing. It's a Virgo thing. They practice, they read books on architecture, they watch movies and enjoy watching movies about architecture. They might even travel just to see these different types of architecture, talk with people in high-end circles, networking circles, about architecture or whatever. And then they start to get a good, deep running sense of the historical explorations of the best possible architecture. And they get to a real deep genius sense of these things at times. They're also good with computers. I mentioned, like, the goat is good at computers. I mentioned that, like, in my last video, I've got a whole I got a whole presentation about goat and Virgo, and it's all got these slides and everything, and that's all goat being passionate about my ability to use technology as an extension of my hobbyism and about of my creative artistry. Virgo goat can be a good YouTuber. The goat can be a good YouTuber, I like to tell myself. Right, goat? Right. Great. Unfiltered, yeah. Well, groovy, guys. I'm glad you guys are enjoying. I deeply enjoy doing this with you guys. So much. Next up, we got one more reading, folks, and this is essentially rehashing everything that we've already kind of said. We're an hour and a half into this video. I did not expect it to be that long. I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying listening to it as much as I enjoy blabbing about it. Because I do. Feel free to leave a comment if you think it's just too much. I think the start of this video, I really kind of tried to grip into things. It was 50 minutes before we actually got into the readings. I'd rather be objective about it. please feel free to let me know what you guys think. I'm always interested in your honest opinions of my work. Okay, last reading. This one comes from the New Astrology. It's a synthesis of the Chinese and Western signs. It comes from a lady named Suzanne White, who I've recently learned is a fucking sweetheart. She's a lady who grew up in, like, the States and somewhere, I think in, like, New York. And New York really cramped her style. She's got a whole book written where she goes from New York to, like, Paris, falls in love with Paris, the aesthetic there, the people there, and the amorous love vibe there. And it was there that she got a job as a writer, editor, whatever, and started just crafting her own personal explorations of these signs. I recommend this book and just her work in general. I actually met her. She contacted me on YouTube, and she was super flattered at the fact that I was talking about her book, and she's a sweet lady. I mean, you know, this is me promoting her a little bit because I've made the connection with her. And you'll never know. Maybe I'm going to try to collaborate with her because she's a cool lady, and her writings are great. But with that, I have to leave this caveat. Even if she reads this, it's just the nature of my channel. It's always going to be this way. Again, no one has ever talked about Chinese astrology and Western astrology coming together like authors like her have, like authors like Mantak Chia has, and all these people that we've been reading from. These people are just taking their personal interpretations of the symbols and smashing them together and seeing what they think comes out. And I think they're generally great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with more data about something, but always just know that this is a new field of cultural integration. This is like new, I mean, that's why it's called the New Astrology. So no one has an authority on this. Like, there are 3,000-year-old scriptures talking about, like, what Virgo sun is like. There are 3,000-year-old scriptures in China talking about what the goat is like. You know, these individually, they have been stewing on these symbols, and there's scriptural sutras and writings that have been improved upon for thousands of years regarding these individual natures of each, the goat and Virgo, but not together. It's only been like in the last 100 years that these cultures have come together and started marrying the combinations of these energy-filled symbols. So keep that in mind whenever you listen to any of these readings. These people are providing good data that we need to digest, and that's why I'm sharing them with you today. We digest them, and we think about where all the points meet up, where the parts that she talks about in this book lined up with the parts that he talked about in that book, and the symbols that I've described thus far. They're generally pretty good, but just always keep that on the back of your mind as a... What is the word I'm looking for? Reminder? No. Reminder? No, fuck, whatever. Anyway, just keep it in mind. Take everything you read in these books with a grain of salt. But listen to them, because they're generally good, like I said. I know I'm speaking with two different mouths, one mouth in two different directions, but it's just the nature of this thing. The nature of any knowledge, really, you know? Even everything you take from me is just, I'm just another person interpreting these eternal symbols. And you have to consider that I'm only one filter. I'm Leo rising, Scorpio sun, Sagittarius moon, year of the goat, talking about these things. It's important for me, for you to know that, so that when you listen to another author talking about it, it's like, oh, that's their thing. And this is Dustin's thing. And oh, it's all coming together in my intuition. Intuition, man. Anyway, enough gab. Let's get out of the serious stuff. Ow, fuck, that hurt. I just got my nipple pierced like 3 months ago, and it's shitting on me today. Worth it. Ow, though. Without further ado, this is Virgo sun coming through the year of the goat, the ram, the sheep. I can see how expressive I am in this camera. It's hilarious. All these faces I make. The keyword for Virgo is I analyze. The keyword for the goat is I depend. It's like the Virgo analyzes what it depends on. What is it that I really depend on? Can I quit this job in order to go and live with this person at this house? I depend on them emotionally, but I depend on this job financially. How can I analyze which I depend on more? Just make sure that you don't bite the hand that feeds you, Virgo. Or maybe you should, or maybe not bite it, but certainly analyze and think about what is the most logical dependence that you ought to give yourself to. That's your lot, Virgo goat. Think it out. It's good to be objective about these things, you know, especially what I would say is keep an eye on the center of it all, which is number one, which is you, which is your spontaneously unfurling neurological nature that your genes have given to you from heavens above. Self-realization is a big thing for me. I find if anybody's paying attention to themselves, they might not get their connection to the material world right away, but after you go through your Saturn return, after you're about 30 years old plus, if you've been really observing the self and surrendering to what the self is trying to do. The material world changes all the time, and you change all the time. But the center of the center of the center of the center of the self is going to always be the same eye looking out. And if you're going to get a sense of anything, you might as well get a sense of that self. Because that's the one thing that you can observe with tacit, evidential reflection, the development and causation of. Whereas everything else in the material world is fucking fate's game. I mean, so is yourself, but, you know, it's easier to see the patterns and growth in yourself than it is in the outside world. That's coming from a Scorpio. Maybe you as a Virgo might think differently. Anyway. Virgo goat. Enough fucking around. The combination of the purity and crackle of Virgo with goat. Dependency. Okay. Bleh. The combination of the purity and crackle of Virgo with goat dependency and love of luxury make for a rather unsure personality type. This person's sturdy Virgo side wants to come across as a serious and efficacious worker. He bolsters his image so as to better believe in himself or herself, I should say. But the languor-loving goat invariably comes gambling around and tips Virgo's rigidity right over. What we get then is a person with very strong opinions who is easily influenced and prey to those more crafty and less gullible than him or herself. There's a naivety here, which also thinks that it's kind of cute. I think it's kind of cute, the Virgo goat thing, to just sort of like, I'm sure that this is like this and this is like this. And they're spontaneous about it. Like, I know a Virgo goat in my life who's just like, just, you know, like this, things are just like this, you know? Like, don't you think that's weird? And they come out and just, they spontaneously express, that's how this is. But it seems like they're just so spontaneous about it that they're not really sure. It's just their spontaneity makes them seem opinionated or whatever. They're trying to reassure themselves constantly about whatever they're talking about. Virgo goats comment on absolutely everything they encounter. It's horribly hot in here. The pictures are hanging crooked. The cars emit too much exhaust for my taste. That hairdo looks revolting on you. Why do you wear those kinds of shoes? They make your legs look so fat. And on and on. Virgo goats comment on absolutely everything they encounter. Aha, I just said that. Sometimes their chatter can be pleasant, however. If they are feeling insecure, they are less likely to deride. These people need to graze in fertile fields, hold steady jobs, and be protected, both privately by a strong mate or family, and publicly by the system. And they should analyze how the system can help them figure their shit out. This character is also wont to show off. They're not so much a clown as they are a tad snooty and know-it-all pedantic. Of course, once you get to be this person's friend, you realize that all those snazzy antics and exotic toilettes are merely part of the same act I mentioned above. The Virgo goat is insecure. I mean, again, all things considered, if you got a strong sun, strong Mercury, you might not be that secure. I mean, you might early in life. There's just bound to be this insecurity in this person, but it's because they feel insecure that they work to be secure. And if your shit has positive aspects in the Western chart, you're probably, because of this like feeling of insecurity, you're probably going to analyze and get good, distinct, reliable pillars in your life which you can say give you the security that you've been seeking. Wardrobe flaunting and name dropping are just two of the myriad ways he or she tries to protect themselves from the arrows of those stronger or more meritorious, like people who appear to have more merit. So actually, this person is an eccentric. Ideally, he or she lives in a countrified, cozy environment that is paid for by someone else. In the best of instances, the Virgo goat is obliged not only to do their work and come home, but also to... This book is confusing sometimes. In the best of instances, the Virgo goat is obliged not only to do their work, but also come home, put their feet up, and enjoy the journey as well as the destination, right? Not only is this person quirky and a little bit balmy too, they are, as a rule, exceptionally talented in the work they have chosen. They put tons of imagination into whatever they're employed at, and it really does wear them out. This person is not nearly so strong as they look, depending on the chart and context, right? There will be much dexterity in the hands of Virgo goat. You may find them sitting up all night, finishing the new upholstery on their love seat, or trimming Christmas trees with ornaments saved up over 30 years, balancing on ladders and risking their lives so that the result will be aesthetically perfect. Virgo goats are meticulous and artistic. They are best utilized and most comfortable in their homes and studios. Society's demands are almost too much for their delicate nervous system. The big bad world makes these people a little crabby, can make them a little cynical. What with Virgo's clear-cut lucidity and the goat's bent for pessimism. Goat can be pessimistic if they are not allowed to walk the mountain at their own pace, and sometimes they have to. Like me, I had to get a job instead of being a starving fucking artist all my life. And I'm better for it. Thankfully, it didn't make me cynical or pissy that I couldn't just walk the mountain, but I still am. That's the thing, is I've still cultivated a capacity to still be like self-entrepreneuring or whatever. What with Virgo's clear-cut lucidity and the goat's bent for pessimism, this native will have quite a struggle against negativism and prejudice in his or her life. They wonder why everybody can't see what they see. Can't you tell that this girl over there is pregnant? Didn't you notice that Jim was sulking? This person is the victim of their own glaring sensitivity. They are well advised to seek a secure field of endeavor and a canny partner from the jump. So how's that going to go? Let's listen to the love factor for Virgo goat. The ideal love life for a Virgo goat is coupledom. But Virgo goat, with their tendency towards haughtiness and huffy personal opinions, they don't always hold on to such a relationship for long. Again, unless they have a strong Saturn and a strong Venus. These people are capricious, and they flit from whim to whim with a self-assuredness that throws off even the most perceptive admirer. This person must humble themselves to accept their real dependent nature before they can truly find happiness in a one-on-one, long-lasting affair or marriage. They like to show that, like, I can be okay without anything. I got all I need. But I guess, like, all their attitude is like, well, we'll partner together because maybe you could help me and I could help you. Ultimately, I'm okay no matter what. And they don't want to tell the partner that they depend on them, and it would be good for them to do that. Just as long as it doesn't become like, this is marriage for everybody, really, I always say marriage is not two halves of a circle that become a whole circle, right? A lot of people think I'm incomplete and you're incomplete, and together we make one. I like to think love is more like a circle that's complete in itself and another circle that's complete in itself. And when they come together, the fluctuation of energies makes the infinity symbol. And they feed each other and support each other as mutually singular wholes. If you are the lover of one of these delicately balanced creatures, I advise you to be firm and sure of yourself before undertaking any major emotional investment. The Virgo goat's insecurities are such that, without even meaning to, he or she can undermine friends' and lovers' confidence just because of this criticism and security seeking that they have. There's a push me, pull you effect at work here. Virgo goat criticizes his or her mate in a deprecatory way. The mate then doubts themselves, which makes the Virgo goat feel even less secure. Their bastion of strength, their strong and sturdy mate, has wavered. Vicious circle department. Watch out. I get it. I think it's a little... they're trying to say something that you could fall into, but I don't think it's as nobody... The human consciousness is conducive to an intelligent understanding of how bliss and how a little sugar makes the medicine go down. So this Virgo goat will eventually learn, for both their sakes, that they're not helping anybody by actually undermining the self-esteem and self-confidence of the partner. They want to feel like they're helping you by telling you what you need to hear. Sometimes you just gotta... As a partner to this person, sometimes you just have to give them an arena to criticize and show them that you're listening. Even if you gotta wedge a piece of spinach into your teeth and then walk around with it and they go, honey, you got a piece of spinach there. Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you for being aware. Thank you. You've criticized me constructively. Well done. Meanwhile, you got 4 more pieces of spinach in your pocket for when they start to feel like they need to criticize you again, you know? You know, like you gotta play the game with these people. And don't actually, it'd be good for you to have your own center of what makes you both feel well-to-do and like you're buoyantly constructive and doing something meritorious and valuable and good. Because they're going to just come at you with this criticism because they just feel like that's what they're good at. Especially with the goat, just sort of, I'll feel bad if I don't tell you. And the Virgo's sort of nitpickiness too just feels like I need to do this at some point with something. You know, maybe the Virgo goat would be well to take into consideration that your marriage partner is one person with whom you should pick your battles. You should. It's a part of who you are to be critical, but try to do it to the most relevant things. Don't just go fucking criticizing the fact that they got every time they got a piece of spinach in their teeth, or that, you know, something silly that's just not really that big a deal. Don't go telling them that, you know, if you have a house full of like earthy brown walls and they walk in with like green, like a green dress, and you're like, oh honey, that doesn't work with our aesthetic at all. Don't say that every time, you know, because it's like, well, fuck honey, the walls are brown. I like green clothes. Like, you're gonna make me break up with you if you just don't let, you know, don't make your partner feel like you're wearing glass shoes, right? Pick your battles. Be logical. Even if you just have to plan, experiment with your partner. Feel, you know that you have to have some point of criticism with your partner to make you feel worthy of your partner, you know? So just like, if you say something to the partner, think in your head, when was the last time that I criticized them? When was the last time I said something positive? You know, and if you think in your head, well, I criticized them for this morning, this for this morning, you know, even if it's something they really need to hear, you might just have to bite your tongue, just to make the person feel like, you know, that neurological wavelength, which the goat is good at feeling. I mean, like, you know, for what it's worth, this book's painting a picture of the goat. Virgo is someone who is just like ignorant to those neurological empathies, which the goat is known for, you know? So you as a Virgo goat will feel, if you pay attention, when you're being too much for your partner, especially if they communicate it to you. Tell your partner to communicate, am I being too much? And if they say, yeah, duh, about time you asked, they might do that, and you'll have to be able to take it, right? Nature of the beast, folks. You're a beaut. I know Virgo goats, and the criticism can be and it can be mature. It'll mature over time, and you got to exercise it in order for it to be mature. You might have to lose a few lovers in the process, you know, or it's just the nature of the beast. But your nature is conducive to a positive reality if you find the right person who can take your criticism constructively, and if you can communicate when it's appropriate, you know. Ultimately, it's going to be up to you to make that all work, because you're the one throwing the barbs, not them. Now, home and family for the Virgo goat. The Virgo goat's home will be decorated in a tasteful and individualistic manner. He or she favors elegant fabrics, lovely velvet draperies, and damask napery. Both please and reassure the Virgo goat. The Virgo goat wants to receive people in style and is often a smashing host or hostess. As a parent, this person will vacillate between bossiness and total indulgence of his children. They're not happy providing security for others. Being a breadwinner is very rough on the Virgo goat. And in the long run, it takes its toll in stability. Probably better if this person is sharing that. Virgo goat wifey can do pretty good if the hubby is going and crunching the skull of the world and taking, doing what it's got to do to make money. And then the Virgo goat can be very good at sensing what the kids want. And that's a good thing for the Virgo goat wife. Because they don't like to being leaned on as the breadwinner if they can help it. They are, of course, especially gifted in relating to children, as they're a bit of a child themselves in a constructive way, in a good way. I don't mean that they're childish. I mean that they can be childlike. And that's that spontaneous, heartfelt honesty of the goat that's just feels like a kid still, just like these guys. Come on, guys, let's go and climb that fucking hill over there, Some Virgo goats never marry or have children, but remain close to their aging parents who provide a comfortable security blanket, which is a nice thing too. The Virgo goat as a child will be adorably affectionate and willing to perform and participate in all things childish, poetic, and romantic. In fact, childhood is the best place for Virgo goats to shine. So long as they have a stimulating environment, these kids feel good about themselves. Don't ask them to be world beaters. Give them lots of artistic chances. You won't be disappointed. Profession. On their own, the Virgo goat will be drawn to steady jobs and professions. They can communicate well, and they're often involved in a career that requires speaking to groups. The Virgo goat is a blindly prejudiced person whose opinions are staunchly their own. They can perform well in jobs where they are appreciated for their unusual outlook and their ability to work around the clock for the betterment of the system. As a boss, this person tends to be hopeless. They're either huffy and sarcastic, or they're a melted marshmallow in the hands of their employees. They do, however, make an enthusiastic employee who seeks favor through hard work and earnest effort, and the application of their own individuality in areas of personal interest. If you can get that going on, that is such a win for them, because that's them, the goat, climbing their own mountain in their own way, but being guided by above the mountain. The boss, their superior, is a mountain. Here's a mountain for you to climb in your own individualistic way. Here's a deadline. I need you to be done this month. It's your field. Go have fun with it. See what you can get to me within these guidelines and boundaries. If they have that, they're going to fucking send it, and they're going to love doing it. Some professions suitable for this character are sociologist, theater designer, midwife, landscape gardener. Some famous Virgo goats include William Carlos Williams and George Wallace. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our reading of the Virgo goat. This has been my longest video that I've ever done for the Chinese and Western astrology signs. I don't really know why that happened. It just unfolded this way. I think I'm fucking tired. I've been here since 4 o'clock and it's 11 o'clock now. But it's all there. It was all information. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I would love to hear anybody's criticism as to thinking, just get to the fucking point, Dust. I'd rather hear you say that. I'd rather see that, than me just thinking about it, because I'm a goat and I think about all these things. Think about how I did on my job. I'm just going to sign in quickly, see if anybody has dropped us any comments while we were rapping and slapping about this particular combination. And as usual, ladies and gentlemen, I always love doing this stuff for you guys. Love talking about this stuff. Awesome. Awesome. Nice to see you out of the ashes. Oh, sweet. I'm very glad to hear that. Thanks, Goosey. Yeah, this is a new thing I've started doing. I got it from Vince Neil from Motley Crue. That guy's just like sexy as fuck, and like I saw him do the red thing, like the red cowboy thing, and I was like, oh man, I'm so stealing that. Oh, Goosey, I'm so glad. Yes, thank you very much. El Bosch, I'm glad that you enjoyed the whole thing, and Out of the Ashes, you as well. I'm glad that it came out with depth rather than just like a whole lot of wool and not much mutton. You know what I mean? Yeah, me too. He's a fucking sexy bastard, isn't he, Goosey? Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My 3 viewers who have been sticking around for this whole video. And for anybody else watching out there in YouTube land. My name is Dustin Cormier. It's my absolute pleasure to be graced with your presence while I rap on about this astrology stuff that I love to talk about so much. Stay tuned. We got more coming along. Particularly, more sextrology videos. Our next one is going to be Aries Sun straight woman in combination with all the 12 dudes of the zodiac. That's going to be coming soon. And next in our Chinese Western astrology series, whenever I get around to it, is going to be, let's see, it'll be the monkey. Monkey comes after goat. And Mercury goes to Jupiter. So it'll be Sagittarius and Pisces. I do these by the generative cycle. Before this, it was Venus-ruled sun signs, that being Cancer, Taurus, and Libra. Cancer is ruled by the moon, but we're talking about the Pancha-Tattvas. So that means that the next video in this series will be Jupiter-ruled sun signs. That's Sagittarius and Pisces. It'll be Sagittarius and Pisces monkey. That will be our next video in this series. And also I'm doing another series soon where I'm going to talk about the moon sign and the erotic nature of the moon sign with all the 12 combinations. It's been a slice, ladies and germs. I always love talking to you folks, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless.